Seeing a few feral hogs cross a field hardly reveals the damage they can cause. For Texas farmers, the evidence appears every morning. Uprooted crops, torn soil, and recently restored areas destroyed again. Agricultural losses are estimated in the billions of dollars each year. Farmers have tried nearly everything, from helicopters and thermal optics to large trapping systems, yet hog numbers keep rising. One farmer said that even after flying 3 or 4 hunts a week and removing 20 to 30 hogs per trip, crops could still be wiped out. At that point, this is no longer about a few animals, but a full-scale invasion. Farmers truly grasp the scale of the problem when they look at feral hog reproduction. A sow can produce her first litter at only 6 to 8 months old. Pregnancy lasts about 4 months, with 4 to 6 piglets per litter, and sometimes 10 to 12 when food is abundant. Soon after weaning, she can enter another cycle. Under good conditions, one breeding pair can produce more than 20 young in a year. Even more concerning, the young females begin breeding within months. So a ranch may remove 100 hogs, yet a few surviving sows can rebuild the population quickly. This is no longer a matter of counting individual hogs, but fighting exponential growth. So why are older methods not enough? Many hunters focus on large males, while sows and piglets drive population growth. Traditional box traps face the same problem. They often catch only one hog while the rest escape. After a few encounters, the entire sounder becomes more cautious and starts avoiding familiar traps. A farmer named Baker realized the goal was not to remove hogs one by one, but to capture entire sounders. He installed infrared cameras connected to the cellular network to study their habits without alerting them. On the first night, the screen showed a large group, leaving him stunned. Baker knew there were many feral hogs on his property, but he had never imagined there were this many. Instead of using small traps, Baker built a large steel enclosure wide enough for an entire sounder to enter at once. Corn was scattered from outside the fence toward the center. The key was not to close the trap too soon. For several days, the gate stayed open. At first, the hogs only watched from outside, but gradually the whole group began entering each night for corn. Baker monitored them from home, patiently counting each animal. When the last hog stepped inside, He tapped a button on his phone. The signal was sent instantly, and a heavy steel gate dropped, holding the entire group inside. Success on his own property pushed Baker to think bigger. He contacted neighboring ranchers, explaining how the hogs moved and why entire sounders had to be targeted instead of single animals. They quickly joined in. Large traps appeared beside fields, along forest edges near trails, and deeper in thick cover. Cameras let everyone monitor nighttime activity. Within days, groups repeatedly received images of large sounders entering traps. One success followed another, turning Baker's small experiment into a broad regional control network. Millions of feral hogs still leave Texas farmers with a difficult question. How can they protect crops without turning control into an endless race? Smart traps offer a more effective direction based on data and cooperation across farms. When hog populations grow too large, the damage reaches beyond farmers and affects the surrounding ecosystem as well. If you find this approach interesting, share your thoughts.
The battle against feral hogs in Texas is becoming more and more like a tactical race. Herds that were once easy to lure into traps are now more cautious, frequently changing their routes and showing up in larger numbers. After repeatedly watching cornfields get torn apart in a single night, Nick realized that a few small traps would never solve the problem long term. He decided to build a more organized control system that could monitor the hogs continuously, adjust trap placement as their behavior changed, and minimize the chances of any animals escaping. The biggest upgrade was a smart trap large enough to hold many hogs at once. Cameras allow Nick to monitor the trap remotely and close the gate only after most of the herd has entered. This is far more effective than older traps that often trigger too early, catching only 1 or 2 hogs while the rest escape and become wary of the area on future visits. With this setup, Nick can wait for the right moment, reducing the chances that the herd senses danger and begins avoiding the trap site in the days that follow. These massive circular traps are reinforced almost like steel vaults. Once the gate drops, hundreds of pounds of muscle can slam into the steel panels in a frantic attempt to escape. A fully grown boar is strong enough to bend steel tubing or damage welds if the structure is not built to withstand the impact. That is why every bolt, hinge, and connection point has to be reinforced. For control teams, keeping the entire herd contained is far more valuable than catching only a few individual animals. Success, however, depends on more than the trap itself. Where it is placed can be just as important. Feral hogs often follow established routes from dense cover into open fields. Control teams study tracks, muddy wallows, and patches of freshly rooted soil to identify the herd's invisible highways. Choose the wrong location, and the hogs may disappear from the area for weeks. That is why understanding their movement patterns can sometimes matter even more than the equipment used to control them. Bait also plays a major role. Fermented corn is one of the most common choices because of its strong smell and ability to draw hogs from a distance. Fruits such as watermelon, apples, and peaches can also work well, especially during hot weather when hogs are searching for moisture. When the right location is combined with the right bait, a single trap can sometimes capture dozens of hogs at once, significantly reducing crop damage and making it less likely that the herd will quickly return to the same area. Then the decisive moment finally arrives. Once most of the herd has moved inside, the cameras and motion sensors immediately send an alert to the control team. Within seconds, the heavy steel gate drops shut. After a brief moment of silence, the trap erupts with squeals, flying mud, and powerful impacts against the steel panels. The response team has to arrive quickly before the herd damages the structure or manages to force its way out, creating a dangerous situation and potentially wasting all the effort that went into setting up the trap. The biggest mistake is often not where the trap is placed, but when it is triggered. If the gate is dropped too early, before enough hogs have entered, The remaining animals quickly learn that the area is dangerous and begin avoiding it. But if the team waits until most of the herd is comfortable entering the trap regularly, the chances of capturing the entire group increase dramatically. A slow response after the gate closes can also make surviving hogs more cautious and less likely to return, reducing the effectiveness of the control effort and allowing agricultural damage to continue longer. That is why feral hog control is about much more than simply setting a trap. It requires constant observation, planning, and adjustment. Moving traps to new locations over time can also help disrupt the animal's avoidance patterns, keeping the strategy effective and allowing control teams to adapt when the herd suddenly changes its behavior. If you found this useful, leave a comment and share your thoughts. And don't forget to follow for more practical feral hog control strategies in upcoming videos.
Hello.
Oh yeah, I know.
For many years, wild boar populations in numerous agricultural regions have increased at an extremely rapid rate, with an estimated population of around 6 million animals. They are spread across vast areas and continue expanding their range into farms, grasslands, and cultivated fields. Every night, large sounders leave their shelters to root through the soil in search of food. In just a single night, entire fields can be torn apart, irrigation systems damaged, and crops destroyed. The total economic losses are estimated at approximately $2.5 billion each year, forcing farmers to seek every possible way to protect their crops and property. To reduce wild boar numbers, many large-scale control measures have been implemented. In some areas, helicopters are used to locate and hunt herds moving across farmland and extensive shrubland. Although thousands of animals are removed during each operation, the population quickly recovers because of their exceptionally high reproductive rate. Within a short period, new herds appear and continue causing damage. This demonstrated that simply removing individual animals was not enough to solve the problem in the long term, prompting farmers to adopt a more effective control strategy. Before setting traps, the management team spent several days monitoring the behavior of the wild boars. Cameras were installed in frequently damaged areas to record their activity times, travel routes, and herd sizes. Drones were used for aerial observation, while trained tracking dogs followed fresh scents and signs to identify the exact routes most commonly used by the animals. They discovered that the herds followed nearly identical travel paths and repeatedly stopped to feed at several familiar locations. Based on these findings, the team selected the most suitable location to build a large circular steel trap and began preparing the baiting operation. That a large circular trap, made of heavy steel panels, was erected directly along the route most frequently used by the herd. During the first several days, the trap door remained fully open to avoid creating suspicion. Corn and various grains were placed near the entrance, then gradually moved toward the center of the enclosure. Fresh bait was added every day to maintain a consistent scent. When night fell, the herd followed its usual path and was quickly attracted by the smell of food. The leading animals entered first to investigate and began feeding. And after several nights, the entire herd developed the habit of entering the trap to search for food.
Doing is, yeah, that's all you're wanting is a little scent. Peas finishing up that, making it smell. Now let's see if we can catch.
Once the majority of the herd had gathered inside the enclosure, the management team activated the trapping system. The heavy steel gate dropped rapidly and completely sealed the only exit. The trapped animals immediately moved along the fence searching for a way out, but found no opening. Some repeatedly changed direction, while many others remained gathered around the bait. The steel structure withstood repeated impacts, successfully containing the entire herd within the enclosure. After confirming that the situation was under control, the team approached the trap and carried out the required procedures while preparing specialized vehicles to transport the animals away from the site. After confirming that the entire herd had been safely contained, the management team began the handling operation. They first inspected the trapdoor, steel panels, and the number of animals inside before proceeding further. Specialized transport vehicles were positioned close to the trap to minimize transport distance and reduce stress on the animals. Each individual was then loaded according to local wildlife management procedures. Once transportation was complete, the entire trapping system was inspected, cleaned, and serviced before being reinstalled at the same location or moved to another area where wild boar activity had been detected.
What's that?
So this goes.
Wild boars in Georgia are not only aggressive, but also quick to learn which places once put them in danger. One day they appear near the creek. The next, they circle through the woods or slip through another section of fence. Rhodes knows passive defense only leaves farmers constantly one step behind. A large sounder can destroy months of work in a single night. Instead of waiting for them to enter the crops, he positions steel traps and monitoring points along the farm boundary. His goal is clear: detect them early, block their routes, and keep the threat outside the fields. These no-entry zones are complete only when the traps sit directly along the boar's travel routes. During the day, Rhodes moves a large steel cage to the corner of the field, tightens a frame, secures the supports, and tests the drop gate. Along the farm edge, he finds a trail covered in overlapping tracks and quickly installs a second trap. The setup is not too difficult and can be learned by almost any farmer. Once the traps are ready, sweet corn is scattered around the entrances to mask the metallic scent and attract the boars. More corn is laid from farther away, forming a clear trail that guides them directly into the trapping area. After a full day of preparation, nightfall is when Rhodes finally tests his plan. Infrared cameras record groups of wild boars following the scattered corn and moving deep into steel traps placed along 3 entry routes. When the gates close, the area around the cornfield finally becomes quiet again. The next morning, Rhodes drives his pickup to each location. As expected, one trap group is running frantically inside. He backs the truck close, connects the trap gate to the transport compartment, and carefully guides the animals aboard. For a while, the operation should make the remaining boars wary of the area. Careful preparation had protected the field before serious damage could occur. The earlier success brings only a brief period of peace, as wild boars begin moving closer to the area where Rhodes and his family live. Torn up soil stretches toward the fence. Several posts are damaged, and new trails appear overnight. Rhodes bends down to inspect the ground and finds overlapping tracks from adult boars. These are not a few young animals wandering alone, but mature boars that have adapted to the old system. They avoid familiar traps, split into smaller groups, and constantly change their approach. Rhodes decides to install a thicker, stronger steel cage trap capable of holding both small sounders and solitary adults. after the group moves deep into the trap. Rhodes believes the plan is complete, but an unexpected problem occurs. The largest boars crowd toward one side, creating enough pressure to weaken sections of the fence and allowing the whole group to escape. That night, Rhodes checks a camera and sees several wild deer wandering into boar trap. Fortunately, they find their way out before becoming unintended catches. The next morning, only one large male returns and is held inside. It is an old dominant boar that often leads a group. To Rhodes, controlling this individual is more valuable than capturing many smaller animals. With the confrontation over, Rhodes brings a large male back to process and make use of the meat. He selects the fresh lean cuts, slices them into suitable portions, and prepares an evening barbecue. As the coals begin to glow, family and friends gather around the grill to enjoy dishes made from wild boar. An animal that once caused serious damage has now become a valuable source of food for everyone. Wild boars clearly represent the conflict between nature and agricultural production. Although they provide certain benefits to natural forests, their destructive behavior and uncontrolled reproduction place enormous pressure on farmers. The struggle to manage wild boars reminds us of the importance of understanding natural patterns and applying smart technology to protect crops while preserving balance within the local ecosystem.
Across the vast fields of Texas, wild hogs are appearing in ever-growing numbers and causing serious damage to agricultural production. They no longer move only under the cover of darkness, but now openly emerge in broad daylight, flooding into soybean fields, cornfields, and other crop-growing areas. Entire sounders feed on and trample the crops while using their powerful snouts to tear through the soil in search of food. Within just a few hours, carefully maintained farmland can be ruined and the ground completely churned up. The destruction can wipe out months of labor, time, and money invested by local farmers. Wild hogs are not only destroying farmland, but are also appearing with increasing frequency in urban areas. Large sounders openly walk down the middle of roads, move through neighborhoods, and come close to people's homes, leaving residents worried, frightened, and frustrated. At times, they occupy almost the entire roadway, forcing vehicles to slow down or stop, disrupting traffic and creating serious risks for drivers. While searching for food, the hogs also overturned trash cans, scattered garbage everywhere, and used their snouts to dig up the soil in grassy areas along the roadside. Faced with the continuing destruction caused by wild hogs, local residents decided to act immediately. A large network of steel traps was quickly installed along trails and in areas the animals frequently visited. Food was spread evenly inside the traps to lure them in, while surveillance cameras were positioned nearby to track their numbers and determine when they appeared. Instead of triggering the traps too soon, the group waited patiently for several nights. They knew the hogs were highly intelligent and could detect even the slightest sign that something was wrong. After many nights of patient monitoring, the farmers finally began to see encouraging signs. At first, the hogs remained outside the trap and fed only around its edges. Gradually, however, they became less suspicious and started moving farther inside. Camera images repeatedly showed more and more hogs entering the enclosure. Only after confirming that none were still standing outside did the farmers decide to activate the steel gate. The trap closed at exactly the right moment, securing a large number of wild hogs inside. It was a well-earned result after days of waiting, careful observation, and decisive action at the most critical moment.
Oh, hey, here you go. We got.
The farmers then decided to expand their plan. This time, they selected a much larger trapping system in the hope of securing an even greater number of animals. Food was spread throughout the enclosure, and surveillance cameras were positioned at several different angles. That same night, the footage showed the hogs entering one after another, beginning with a few cautious individuals and eventually followed by nearly the entire sounder. When the right moment arrived, the gate was activated and closed quickly. The second trap produced exactly the result they had hoped for, once again proving that careful preparation and the right location can make a major difference. Following morning, the farmers traveled from one trapping site to another to inspect the results after a night of waiting. At the very first locations, the number of wild hogs secured inside far exceeded their expectations. The animals that had repeatedly invaded the fields, trampled crops, and torn up the soil were now contained within the steel enclosures. The team quickly carried out the next stage of the operation according to plan. Once the work was complete, they thoroughly cleaned the area, removed leftover bait and debris, and restored the site before continuing to the next inspection point. But the lesson they gained was more important than the final numbers. The farmers understood that protecting their crops does not depend solely on the strength of steel or the sophistication of modern equipment. Above all, it requires patience, careful observation, and a clear understanding of nature's patterns. Every footprint, every trail, and every change in the hog's behavior serves as a reminder that people cannot control everything through haste. Only by paying attention to the land, acting responsibly, and choosing the right moment can they protect the results of their labor while preserving the necessary balance between human life and the wild world.
For many consecutive weeks, wild boar herds regularly left the natural forest to search for food in fields located along the forest edge. At first, only a few individuals appeared at night, before quickly returning to the forest before sunrise. However, over time, the number of boars increased significantly, and their visits became much more frequent. Many fields were left covered with fresh tracks, large patches of overturned soil, and uprooted crops after every night. Farmers discovered new damage every morning. As the destruction spread farther, larger farming areas began to suffer serious losses caused by the feeding activity of the wild boar herds. The wild boars gradually expanded beyond farmland and moved closer to places where people lived. They began appearing around villages near the forest, crossing narrow roads, and frequently moving across local streets during the night. Some individuals even entered parks, open lots, and food-rich areas near the outskirts of towns. Encounters between people and wild boars became increasingly common, raising concerns about public safety. In response, the management team decided to monitor the herd's appearance times, travel routes, and movement patterns over many consecutive nights. After collecting enough data from the cameras, local residents repeatedly organized efforts to drive the wild boars away in order to reduce the herd's presence. Hunting dogs were brought in to chase the animals whenever they entered farming areas, while some hunters used bows and arrows to control individuals that became separated from the group. Each time they were driven away, the boars quickly retreated into the forest, but returned after only a short time by following the same familiar routes. Through long-term monitoring, the management team identified the period when the herd gathered in the greatest numbers and began preparing a more effective trapping strategy. After determining the most suitable location from the monitoring data, the management team installed a large circular trap along the route the herd regularly used before spreading out to feed. The trap was assembled from strong steel panels, forming a wide enclosed circle capable of holding many animals at once. The entire structure was firmly anchored into ground to ensure stability during operation.
Okay.
The gate remained fully open so the herd could gradually become accustomed to the trap. Corn and other grains were then placed in the center as bait to lure the animals deep inside. The surrounding environment was left unchanged so that returning boars would not notice anything unusual. During the following nights, the wild boar herd returned along its familiar path and quickly approached the baited area. The leading animal stepped to the open gate and moved toward the center to feed. Finding nothing suspicious, the rest of the herd followed in small groups. Within a short time, most of the animals had gathered completely inside the enclosure. At the right moment, the management team activated the system. The heavy steel gate dropped instantly, sealing off the only exit. The trapped boars ran along the fence searching for a way out, but found no escape. Within seconds, the entire herd had been safely contained without requiring any direct physical confrontation. Once the herd had settled inside the trap, the management team entered to inspect the entire system and confirm the number of captured animals. The boars were then loaded onto specialized transport vehicles and relocated according to prepared wildlife management procedures. After the relocation was completed, the trap was cleaned, the steel framework thoroughly inspected, and fresh bait was added so it would be ready for future use. The camera system continued operating to monitor the arrival of new herds. Thanks to this continuous management effort, wild boar activity declined significantly, and both the agricultural land and nearby residential areas gradually returned to a stable condition, allowing local residents to continue farming and daily life with greater peace of mind.
Wild boar herds are becoming a serious problem across many farming regions as they continue to appear in large numbers and leave behind obvious signs of destruction. Using their powerful snouts, they tear up the ground in search of roots and insects. After nightfall, entire herds push deep into cornfields, feeding on the crops and trampling the stalks. However, their activity is not limited to the darkness. Even during the day, wild boars openly enter farmland. In a short period of time, once healthy rows of crops can be reduced to a churned-up mess, leaving farmers to face heavy losses. Wild boars are also moving deeper into residential neighborhoods, treating private yards as familiar feeding grounds. Day or night, they use their powerful snouts to dig constantly through the soil in search of roots and food hidden beneath the grass. Some herds return for several days in a row, digging up the same areas before spreading into neighboring lawns. As this activity continues, once level yards are torn apart and covered with uneven holes and piles of loose soil. Beyond damaging the landscape, wild boars also move onto city streets, knock over trash cans and rip open bags filled with leftover food. As the damage continued, farmers began carefully examining fresh tracks and the familiar routes leading from the forest into the surrounding farmland. After several days of observation, they decided to build the first trap along the edge of the woods, where the herd regularly passed before entering the fields. Food was scattered from outside the structure and gradually led deeper into the trap, while surveillance cameras were installed to record how many animals appeared and when they arrived. Rather than activating the trap as soon as a few boars stepped inside, the farmers waited patiently, allowing the entire herd to become familiar with the structure and gradually lose its caution. After several days of getting used to the trap, the wild boars became less wary and began moving farther inside. Through the monitoring cameras, the farmers watched them gather around the bait and feed eagerly as more animals entered one after another. Once most of the herd was fully inside the enclosure, the gate was immediately activated and closed, containing the animals that had repeatedly damaged local farms and gardens. This marked the first successful result of the trapping campaign and showed that careful monitoring, gradual conditioning, and waiting for the right moment had worked effectively.
Big old fluffy guy, aren't you? It's a big...
Building on that first success, the residents set up another trap along a different route frequently used by the herd, hoping to contain a larger number of animals in a single operation. Bait was scattered from the outside and led deep into the center of the enclosure, while a camera was positioned discreetly to monitor the entire area. That same night, a large number of wild boars appeared one after another, quickly entered the trap and gathered around the food. Once most of the herd was inside, The gate closed immediately, giving the residents another significant result in their effort to protect the surrounding farmland. The following morning, the farmer returned to inspect the trap and was surprised to find that more wild boars had been captured than expected. The results showed that the herd had completely lowered its guard and entered the baited area together during the night. All of the captured animals would be handled according to safe procedures, while the trap, leftover bait, and monitoring equipment would also be carefully removed. The trapping site would then be restored to its original condition to prevent waste from being left behind or any lasting damage to the surrounding environment.
There.
The campaign ended with positive results, significantly reducing the pressure caused by wild boars that had repeatedly damaged farms and entered residential areas. Its success did not come from the trap alone, but from days of studying tracks, monitoring camera footage, and patiently waiting for the right moment. When dealing with animals that adapt quickly, knowledge and a carefully planned control strategy are always more effective and sustainable than rushed decisions. This is how farmers can protect the results of their hard work while keeping the impact on the natural ecosystem to a minimum. No one would expect a green-orange grove to hide so many surprises. Beneath the fruit-laden branches, the soil around the trees had been torn into large patches, as though someone had plowed it overnight. The tracks led straight to the far end of the grove. As the farmers arrived, an adult wild boar suddenly rushed from the bushes. The dogs immediately followed, but the animals changed direction, split up, and disappeared into the thick vegetation. The group had to spread out and search. When one person approached the water, a loud noise suddenly broke the silence. Another boar burst from its hiding place and vanished from sight within seconds. The next stop was a large pasture where livestock usually grazed each day. From a distance, the ground still looked green, but the damage became obvious up close. Grass had been uprooted and the soil was dug into many small pits. In only one night, the wild boars had transformed an area the farmers had spent months maintaining. To confirm their suspicions, an infrared camera was installed in the field. The footage removed every doubt, showing the herd tirelessly tearing through the grass during both day and night. After identifying the herd's route, the farmers decided to install a large net trap. The strong net was stretched into a wide circle and secured with deep stakes, while the lower edge was carefully arranged so the boars could enter. That evening, the camera recorded several animals already inside, feeding on the bait. Soon afterward, the rest of the large herd followed through the opening and gathered around the food. By the time they realized they were trapped, it was too late. They ran in circles searching for an exit but could not cross the flexible net. The following morning, the herd panicked again when the team arrived. The workers approached cautiously, sorted the animals, and moved them onto specialized vehicles to remove them from the farm. Not every area was suitable for a net trap, so the farmers placed a steel enclosure along the route where the boars often crossed the ditch. Before installation was finished, dark clouds gathered, the sky dimmed, and lightning flashed. Heavy rain quickly turned the dry ground into a flooded area. Work continued after the storm, with each fence panel carefully connected. Even the standing water could not stop them. That night, attracted by the smell of food, the herd crossed the shallow water and entered the trap. The steel gate closed as soon as the trigger was touched, sending the animals running in confusion. By morning, the water had drained away, revealing an unexpectedly large catch with several adults. The farmers approached slowly, handled each animal, counted them, and loaded them onto specialized vehicles. Besides damaging crops, wild boars can also provide food when handled properly. The meat is cleaned, divided into portions, and either grilled or slowly cooked in large pots. The preparation may be simple, but the meal still carries special meaning. With enough care, it can become a generous feast shared with friends and family. This reduces waste, adds a valuable food source, and partly offsets the losses caused by the herd. The wild boars that once left the orange grove and pasture in chaos were finally brought under control through patience and many days of preparation. From tracking and setting traps to collecting and preparing the animals, every step showed that farm life is never simple. The damage could not disappear immediately, but what was recovered was used rather than wasted. Perhaps the greatest lesson is not that humans defeat nature, but that they learn to adapt, coexist, and protect what matters most.